Hi everybody, it's Vince Sellers. Welcome to another episode of FBI Talk. Today I'm going to talk to you about the experience that the FBI likes to see when they're hiring FBI agents. So that's a very common question that I get is what experience should I get? What kind of jobs that position me best to boost my odds to join the FBI? So I will do my best to answer that. And just as the education question that comes up that I talked about in the previous video, experience is a very common question. And I will remind everyone again to remember that your odds of joining the FBI are always fairly low. Somebody's got to do it, and they do hire people. I can attest to that. But your odds are never in your favor. There's just not enough positions versus the number of people applying to have very good odds. But with the right education and the right experience, you can dramatically boost your odds to pretty much a long shot to, got a pretty darn good chance of getting in, assuming that you can pass their tests, pass the background thing, do the physical stuff. With the right education and experience, you can give yourself fairly good odds. But you've got to bring all the pieces together, and that's hard to do. So experience, to me, the number one most important thing in getting into the FBI, aside from meeting the minimum physical requirements and that type of thing, is what experience do you have in the work world? And I think that is more important than education. And this kind of goes along with life in general. I've found is most employers, aside from as soon as you get out of college, yes, you can try to get your first job, and hopefully you've got a good education that helps you land that job. Once you've got your first job, largely people don't really care that much about what your education is. It might get their attention a little bit if you go to a high-profile university, and degrees. Sometimes there is a certain type of degree required, of course, for some jobs. But in general, your experience is what matters. And I believe that wholeheartedly with the FBI. The experience is by far the most important. So what can you do to give yourself the best odds? Well, I'm about to tell you. So I've talked about this before, but I think that the most common path that I've seen, and just as a percentage based on my observation at the FBI Academy, my class, if you are former military or current military and trying to get into the FBI, want to leave the service, and by the way, thank you for your service. I sincerely mean that. The military is a great path in, and law enforcement experience is a fantastic path. So military, the FBI likes folks that have been in the military. The FBI is very similar to a military organization in a lot of respects. A lot of the instructors at the FBI Academy are former military. Lots of agents are former military. Lots of the ways that, be it the forms or procedures, the command structure is all very military-like. So they know that if you could hang in the military and thrived, then most likely you're going to be a good culture fit for the FBI. So that's a big plus in your favor. It doesn't mean you have to be a Navy SEAL or special operations person or some ninja or whatever. But if you have military experience, that's a big plus for sure coming into the FBI. So military is certainly not for everybody, and there's lots of paths into the FBI. But if you have the aptitude, especially if you're younger, and depending on what your education is, maybe you don't have a law degree or something that makes a more solid path into the FBI. Then consider joining the military. Go on that ride, go on that adventure, get a few years of experience, and then that dramatically boosts your odds of joining the FBI. And if you don't join the FBI, then your odds are much better of being able to join another law enforcement entity, a local police department, state police, that type of thing. And then that experience can help you as well. So military is a great option, great people. And FBI hires lots of people that have that background. So law enforcement, clearly a big pull, a big draw, right up there with military. Again, I think of my classmates at the FBI Academy. Lots of them were former cops from various police departments, NYPD down to small town PDs, but lots of them had that law enforcement experience. And that is a huge plus. And again, despite whatever your degree is, if you have a 4-year degree, almost anything, if you have several years of good experience as a cop, as a police officer, you've shown that you can keep your cool. You haven't screwed up. You have the ability to testify in court. The FBI loves that because guess what? That's what they're going to teach everybody at the FBI Academy to do. And from day one, they know that if they have more people experienced as local police, then that's a fantastic background for hiring for the FBI. So it's especially in this time, it's 2020 as I'm recording this, and it's been a turbulent year to say the least, and a difficult year for law enforcement. And as a result, this is somewhat anecdotal, but it seems that there's lots of vacancies opening up in some of these law enforcement entities. It's hard to keep people, quite frankly, because it's a very difficult and often thankless job. And therefore, though there are positions open, and somebody's going to do that very difficult job. So my hat's off to you if you choose to serve in that manner. I sincerely appreciate that. And that does provide a great path into the FBI or other federal law enforcement entities. You might start as a local PD, and that just gives you a nice springboard to do other things. FBI is not the end-all, be-all. You've got the Secret Service, DEA. The list is a mile long of just the federal agencies that have law enforcement missions. And so that if you have some law enforcement experience, that gives you a nice base to be able to join one of these other federal entities if that's what you wish to do. So that law enforcement experience is important. So maybe even if you're not a police officer, maybe you have your criminal justice degree, maybe you start off doing crime scene processing, or even some type of administrative function. Someone's got to run these systems and work the crime labs and do all these things behind the scenes at these local PDs and state PDs. Guess what? That's fantastic experience. So if you could get any experience in that law enforcement realm, big plus. All right. So aside from that, I did not have law enforcement experience when I joined the FBI. So I'm proof that you can do something else. So I had a experience of being, an engineer by training, and then industrial engineering, literally doing, manufacturing plant layouts, equipment layouts, that type of thing. And so that was my background getting into the FBI. So there are lots of ways to get in. You can also get in ultimately by just being, in any career, showing that you're a leader and that you can get along with other people. So no matter what your experience is, be building that resume, be able to tell the story about how you work well with others. That's absolutely critical. And that you can lead. When needed, you can step up. And there's no better way than that, especially in a corporate environment, which I ultimately wound up working in prior to joining the FBI. There's lots of projects, right? If you work at a big company or for a state government or whatever, you probably have projects. There's things that you work on. There's things you want to accomplish. Be able to demonstrate that, pull from that background of experience, and be able to articulate to the FBI that, hey, I've got good experience. No, I didn't hunt down terrorists in the military, and I am not a former cop, but I bring a lot to the table. I can solve problems. I work well with others. I've been on these projects with these great results. Maybe even if you weren't a manager or leading people officially, you still should think about, as you grow your career and build that experience, doing things that demonstrate that, I took some leadership. I took ownership and got people all on the same sheet of music working on accomplishing this thing. So whatever you do, wherever you work, you can be a teacher. There are ways that you can articulate and demonstrate your leadership and your dedication. So generally, I advise people to just be good people. and let the chips fall where they may. Volunteer, help people out. Show that you were there for the benefit of not just yourself, but for others. You like to help other people. It could be professionally, yes, you help people. You want to see other people succeed. If you're part of a project team, you want that project to succeed. You like to see others do well. It could be volunteering in your community. There's tons of ways to do that. That's also part of the experience equation. I'm not saying that you have to build a resume. I hear about these high school kids these days that are trying to get into some Ivy League school, and they've just got a ridiculously long resume that check the boxes that, yes, I volunteered at the soup kitchen, and I did this and this, and that's great. Nothing wrong with that. They're probably better people than I am, but that's not what I'm talking about. Just show that generally you're a good citizen of the world. You don't have to build a database of 20 different organizations you volunteer at. But do show that you're part of that community. Maybe there's one. Maybe it's a local dog rescue or something like that, and that you like to chip in and help out there. So aside from that professional experience, show that you like to help people, work with other people, that type of thing. So I think that's very important to do. Okay, what else can I tell you? That's pretty much it. Get that experience and let the chips fall where they may. You cannot count on joining the FBI, and you have to get that experience. One other note I did want to mention: sometimes I'm asked, I just got out of college. In a year and a half, I'll have 2 years of experience. And should I go ahead and start applying because I hear that it takes a year and a half to make it to the process? No, don't do that. Don't apply. Don't bother messing with the FBI until you have all the required experience. Don't assume that you're going to get the experience by the time you're done with the hiring process. And guess what? The FBI, they're not going to hire you if you're 22 years old. Hate to tell you that. They're just not. About the youngest that I ever see, at least during my time, was maybe in that 25-year-old range. Then you're starting to get to where you've got a legitimate shot at making it in. But generally, congratulations if you're in the workforce. You made it through college early, and you're the 20-year-old prodigy that graduated from school and already has 3 years of experience. I don't think the FBI is going to hire you until you're about 25. That's my opinion, for what it's worth. But keep your expectations accordingly. I guess I'd say that. So don't go to school and then think immediately you're going to get hired by the FBI. It's not going to happen. You have to build up that experience. And the FBI likes to hire people that are a little older, a little more seasoned, and mature, if you will. That's just the reality, and that's my observation. So just trying to set expectations for you. So keep that in mind. But definitely don't start applying until you meet all of the requirements. Because if you make it to a certain point in the process, maybe you are really smart, you pass the test with flying colors, and they finally get to the point where humans are actually really paying attention to your resume and maybe even start to do background checks or something. And as soon as they find out that you haven't actually met the requirement yet for education or something, then they've just wasted their time, and that is not going to help you get in. In fact, that may tell them that you don't follow directions properly, and clearly you were supposed to have X number of years experience, and you applied knowing that you didn't. And they're not going to give you credit for assuming that you'll eventually get that experience, even if it's a month from now. So hold your horses would be my advice. Don't get on the FBI's bad list. Don't get on the stack of paper of people that apply prematurely before you're ready, before you're actually qualified, because they're not going to like that. And again, it depends on the coordinator. I'm just speculating here, but you could even wind up hurting your odds of getting in. That's my point. So be patient. Let a few years go by, get that experience, and then apply, and let the chips fall where they may. Well, I hope you got something out of this. I tried to address the different scenarios and based on the different questions I've had. So I hope this is helpful. Appreciate you tuning in. I wish you luck, and stay safe out there and have a great day.